Here. Again, we are the fishers.
We are the fishers. No, fishers no food. We are the fishers no fishers no food. We are the farmers. No farmers no food. We are the women. No women no food.
I'm Priscilla Claeys. I work on food sovereignty, human rights and resilience.
I'm Stefanie Lemke. I work on gender, nutrition and the right to food. We are both based at the Centre for Agroecology, Water and Resilience, CORE, at Coventry University in the UK.
In the last 2 years, we've developed collaborations with social movements and other networks in West and East Africa working on food sovereignty and collective rights.
We are interested in exploring food sovereignty and collective rights as alternative paradigms to govern natural resources.
This is really important, especially in Africa, in a context of climate change, land grabbing and increasing conflicts and struggles for natural resources at the local level.
We co-organized 2 workshops in Mali and Uganda in 2018 and 2019, together with local partners. In this video, we share the outcomes of these 2 workshops, the key topics that we discussed, the workshop methodology which enabled horizontal discussions. We will also share statements of our workshop participants on why they think collective rights are important.
We start this video with a short presentation of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Peasants and Other People Working in Rural Areas. This new and important international legal instrument recognizes for the first time the human rights to land, seeds and biodiversity.
We are in the process now of developing a larger project with our local partners. If you're interested to engage with us, please get in touch.
After a long and intense process of negotiation involving representatives from peasant organisations, pastoralists, fisherfolk, agricultural workers and indigenous peoples from all over the world, the UN Declaration on the Rights of Peasants and Other People Working in Rural Areas was adopted by the UN General Assembly in December 2018. This new international legal instrument represents a key milestone in the struggle for food sovereignty and people's control over land and natural resources. The Declaration recognises, for the first time, the human rights to land, seeds, biodiversity and food sovereignty. In the Declaration, these rights are recognised not only as individual but also as collective rights. A great proportion of the world's land and natural resources continues to be managed collectively. In addition, rural communities are often dependent on commons, such as pastoral land, forests or rangelands, for their livelihoods.
There are laws which are governing such issues concerning seeds that are not allowing the peasants farmers to take control over their seeds.
Je pense qu'il est important de sauvegarder les droits des communautés puisque là où nous en sommes aujourd'hui, il y a l'essentiel des ressources foncières, des ressources sémencières qui sont en train d'être accaparées. Si on ne fait pas attention, demain on va se retrouver avec des sans terres, des sans semences.
Community rights are important because they respect the cultural life of communities that have existed in Africa from time immemorial.
In this era of capitalism where the trend is towards individualizing property, collective rights thus become the fallback position for most community members who have to utilize resources that they need to, earn a livelihood. So be it pastoralists, be it farmers, it's important to have their rights to common resources, guaranteed, because then it enables them have the means to produce and be able to support their life.
In terms of religion, in terms of culture, in terms of preserving traditional ways of life and traditional conservation methods for forest and other natural resources. And that's why I believe it is important to recognize community rights in the law.
Elle a été demandée, sollicitée par les mouvements paysans eux-mêmes, en particulier la Via Campesina, mais aussi avec l'implication du repas et d'autres. C'était la revendication très claire des organisations paysannes. Non, on ne veut pas des droits individuels. On veut des droits collectifs.
C'est extrêmement important et qu'il faut vraiment encourager. Il faut encourager en fait la mise en place en fait de ces droits communs au niveau des différents pays. Ce n'est qu'avec ça qu'on pourra vraiment sécuriser nos ressources et pouvoir profiter en fait des revenus de ces différentes ressources.
Et pour ça, l'Afrique est au premier plan. Bon, ces droits collectifs, ils continuent d'exister en Europe, à certains endroits, en Amérique latine, en Asie, mais nulle part sur la planète, ils ne sont aussi vivants qu'ici.
To support the implementation of the Declaration on the Rights of Peasants and other people working in rural areas, we embarked on a journey to better understand and document how collective rights are experienced and implemented in practice. We wanted to identify promising avenues for better protecting the rights of communities that depend on land, seeds and natural resources for their livelihoods. We organised 2 workshops. The first was co-hosted with IRPAD, with participants coming from Burkina Faso, Senegal, Benin, Niger, Guinea and Mali. The second was co-hosted with the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, with participants coming from Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia and Uganda.
Il est bon que les communautés se sentent sécurisées sur leurs facteurs de travail, sur leurs outils de travail, pour bien produire pour la sécurité alimentaire.
Right to seed, to food, because it's the only way that farmers can have their own determination in terms of food that they want to eat, in terms of the crop that they want to grow.
Les droits des communautés sur la terre, les droits des communautés sur les ressources naturelles. Donc on a reçu un grand coup avec la nouvelle loi à faire réapparaître les droits des communautés rurales en matière de régime foncier. Et je crois que c'est un pari gagné.
Je pense que le droit collectif mérite d'être soutenu et puis diffusé auprès de tout, auprès de la base.
I bait for the struggle just to make sure that these fisher folks, they get the right of ownership towards the resources.
Que ces droits soient vraiment valorisés et mis en route pour défendre les intérêts des collectivités. Parce que de plus en plus, c'est des collectivités qui se sentent dépossédées de leurs terres, dépossédées de tous leurs droits. Donc c'est important pour moi que ces droits soient reconnus et qu'ils soient mis en œuvre au niveau.
And I strongly believe that collective ownership and access to land is very important because it empowers women to use a very important resource, land, which is very important for human livelihoods.
Ça appartient aux communautés quoi. Tu vas dans toutes les régions, tu vas trouver des parties de là jusqu'à là-bas, ça appartient à telle communauté, ça appartient à telle communauté, ce qui fait que...
The women are the farmers. Who use their time in the gardens, prepare the food, to do what? They are the ones suffering. For me, what I'm supporting, it is the rights for women farmers.
Our objective was to identify research partners and research gaps in collaboration with local actors and grassroots organisations. We wanted to ensure that research priorities are relevant to local actors and co-develop with them based on their experiences. We selected participants to ensure a diversity of constituencies representing small-scale farmers' organisations, pastoralists, fishers and Indigenous peoples. We also invited NGOs, academics and progressive human rights lawyers. We applied a regional quota to have a good balance of participants from the respective countries in the 2 regions. We ensured gender parity with a view to guarantee the strong participation of women. This ensured a horizontal discussion where everyone could fully engage. We guided participants through a 5-stage process. We started with a collective mapping exercise to identify ongoing struggles for collective rights to land, seeds and other natural resources.
Après, comment reconnaître ces droits, quels sont les problèmes pratiques auxquels on peut être confronté quand on va venir vraiment à la reconnaissance des droits. On a parlé de la délimitation pour le foncier, l'identification, mais pour les semences par exemple, on a parlé de quand un chercheur ou une société s'approprie ou améliore une variété, comment on va identifier la communauté titulaire du droit.
Définition, faire un plaidoyer ou faire un lobbying, il faut que ce soit donc sous des faits. Il ne faut pas aller avec la subjectivité. Donc on veut connaître un peu quelle est l'interaction entre les activistes, les chercheurs, donc juristes dans ce cas spécifique, ou d'autres catégories d'acteurs pour mener ces luttes. C'est un peu ce qui est recherché dans votre cas.
We then did a participatory mapping of legal and policy frameworks that currently recognise collective or community rights to land, seeds and natural resources.
Bien. Donc nous allons commencer avec le premier groupe en focalisant sur les cadres juridiques surtout. Donc dans le cadre des luttes pour les droits aux ressources naturelles. On a cité un certain nombre de cadres, les politiques.
Nous, chez nous, là, on met toujours les charrues avant les bœufs. Tout est d'abord en haut et on laisse la base. En termes de foncier, il y a pas, personne ne connaît comment on appelle ça, la dimension foncière, les limites plus que les villageois eux-mêmes. Mais il y a une manière de faire. Hein? Moi, à mon humble avis, on n'a même pas besoin pour le moment des préfets ou bien des trucs là. Mettez tout simplement, invitez-les là où vous voulez délimiter, invitez-les à vous dire les limites, comment on va faire, etc., etc. Et vous allez voir que ça va donner un très bon résultat. Parce que leur terroir était géré avant. Hein.
Oui. On a deux éléments dans la question, c'est la reconnaissance et la protection. Donc on peut être reconnu sans pour autant que les mécanismes de protection puissent être mis en place. Donc on peut dire par exemple...
So underfunding of the sector, you can say underfunding by the government.
Okay. Under sourcing. In fishing.
And another one,
if you look at the investment in agriculture per se,
whatever goes to fishing is very
small amount is going to fishing.
We moved on to discussing relations of power within community rights systems and how to address the marginalisation and the needs of specific groups. There we paid specific attention to youth, women, fisherfolk that we collectively identified.
Elle fait de l'arachide sur son terrain. Donc elle a acheté les terres et elle travaille. C'est un achat qu'elle a fait.
We have labor, which is not a natural resource, but as soon as what roles do women play? So of course, when it gets to labor, land, forests, water, livestock is a separate group here. Women do a lot of the labor on farms, weeding, plowing, planting, and also milking. So a lot of the labor tasks are with women.
Let me give an example with Kikuyus. Women, they know that these women are given the rights to own land. When it comes to my tribe, I'm a Luo. If I want to go back to my homeland to claim a land, then I will not be given, I will not be permitted. And I think also lack of information, since some of these women also don't know that they have the right to own this land. So since they don't have the information for it, they assume that I don't have a right.
You see here in Uganda, let me use Uganda because the example in Uganda, when they are marrying a woman, they pay cows. Yeah. They pay a lot of cows. But when you went to the man, everything you do, it is for the what? The man, because he has paid you. Even if you go back to your family and they give you a cow, and you come with the cow and you put it in the farm, you will not sell that cow because of the dowry. The man has paid the dowry for you, so you cannot own anything because of that.
Here. Again, we are the fishers. We are the fishers. No, fishers no food. We are the fishers. No, fishers no food. We are the farmers. No, farmers no food. We are the women. No, women no food.
I love the women power here. I just love it. I think we had a lot of good, strong women power here. And it is the kind of thing we need in these movements. The women, you know, coming up and speaking and being at the forefront of these struggles.
We must sensitize the young ones. As I talked last time there, because for us, our age is going, but the young ones must know and be strong.
We further discussed the issue of conflicts that may arise between various users of land and natural resources. We looked at effective mechanisms to address these conflicts.
Il y a vraiment des champs où les agriculteurs cultivent jusqu'à arriver au couloir de passage. Donc ils mettent ces couloirs de passage-là dans leur champ. Alors que les couloirs de passage font à peu près quelque chose de 10 à 15 mètres pour permettre aux animaux de passer. Mais ils utilisent cette partie-là pour faire des cultures.
Donc moi je pense qu'effectivement on doit avoir ces us et coutumes-là pour montrer même les relations qui existent entre les communautés et qui maintiennent l'amour, quoi. Parce que c'est ce manque de connaissances-là qui aujourd'hui nous conduit à tout ce que nous sommes en train de vivre, quoi. Il avait des familles, on dit que ça c'est mon éleveur, ça c'est mon agriculteur. Et il avait cette sympathie-là. Aujourd'hui les enfants ne connaissent pas ça, si bien que même on est en train d'amener des conflits là où ça ne devait pas exister.
We ended with a discussion of ideas for collaboration and collectively identified gaps in research and action that could support movement struggles.
Sur l'accès des femmes, de ce que prévoient les tests pour l'accès des femmes et des jeunes aux fonciers et aux autres ressources. Et maintenant, identifier les difficultés liées à l'application de cela. Bon, moi, je le dis parce que, en fait, oui, je le vis et ça me tient particulièrement.
Ça se dit, mais c'est pas précis.
Oui.
One of the development challenges in Africa, particularly in this Eastern Africa, is that are we documenting the trends that are happening on the ground? That's a big issue. People are ahead of us because they are every day in these problems and they are responding to these problems. Are we aware of the new emerging trends within our communities and the bigger regional thing? And nobody is following that. So it can be a very good pilot project to find out what people are doing, which is basically documenting new emerging trends within our communities.
Upscaling agroecology through networking. That is mainly focusing in agroecological practices in dryland areas or moisture stress areas.
So there are a lot of initiatives. We don't have to invent them. We just have to join and link and converge and to strengthen these initiatives.
In the World Cafe, participants are divided into 3 tables. Each table is assigned a facilitator. The facilitator introduces the question, initiates the discussion, and writes down the key contributions. Everyone at the table exchanges ideas for about 20 minutes. Then participants move to the next table while the facilitator stays. Rather than starting from scratch, the second group builds on what was said by the previous group. After 20 minutes, the group moves on again to the next table. At the end, all participants go as a whole group from table to table, where the facilitators of each table present a short summary. This is an opportunity for further discussion and questions.
The principle is the following. Only the people who are here in the middle can talk. So all who are sitting in the outer circle will be listening and not talking. But you see that there is an empty chair. So if one of you wants to react to something that is being said, add something, contribute, please stand up and come and sit here, okay? As soon as you do this, one of them has to volunteer, get up and go back to the outer circle. So there always has to remain an empty chair. Okay, is this clear? So it doesn't mean that if you go back to the outer circle, later on you cannot react again and move back in, right? But this chair always has to remain empty as an invitation for all of you to react.
I agree, because also one of the things also we didn't mention in terms of other economic activities that happen, especially in marine areas, is salt harvesting.
Porte d'entrée là-bas, il ne connaît pas la porte d'entrée. Madame, si vous allez à ces ateliers-là, le plus souvent, en tout cas, il y aura des émotions. Parce que non seulement, tel qu'elle a dit, je pense qu'il ne fallait même pas corriger. C'est comme ça que ça se dit. Ils nous envahissent. C'est comme ça. Non, il dit qu'ils nous envahissent. Et ils mettent dedans.
I love the way it was actually taken up. The different setup, the fish bowl, just the dynamics of it was really participatory, as you said. So that is really what I appreciate about it.
Et la technique d'animation était vraiment très dynamique. Et on n'était pas accroché aux écrans des ordinateurs. Moi particulièrement, ça fait du bien pour mes yeux.
La manière, la méthodologie utilisée, vraiment j'ai bien aimé ça. Et comme je forme aussi, peut-être je vais adopter ce genre de méthodologie dans ma formation aussi.
To be in a progressive space with very progressive minds, with a lot of information, because such information you can never get anywhere, not in any books, not in any university.
The way the workshop itself was handled is really very nice. If you see this sign at the back, it says think outside. So I think thinking outside is really very productive.
And that's the spirit. I like that spirit very much, and I feel that this makes us feel at home.
For me, I also learned a lot. Before I came to this workshop, I didn't know there are all these issues around fishing and seeds. So I've really learned a lot, but it was also very interesting to hear and to learn about pastoralism in different contexts.
Moi, en fait, dans ma mission d'accompagnement des organisations paysannes, d'animation des ateliers, je crois à travers en fait la méthodologie utilisée depuis en fait le premier jour.
On a pu tous participer, même si on était de disciplines différentes.
I feel like this is the family I've known longest. Maybe because it has been so free. I mean, I think it has had the best energy to contribute, to say what you think, to even be controversial and say it as you say it. That's what I like most about this group.
We usually work with within the networks and mainly at the global level with our members from other continents, and we have less impact within the region. So I feel this provides us an opportunity as WFF to be able to work with other networks who are working on various issues of food, on how we can be able to address some of these challenges. I love the part where I would feel like I was becoming engrossed in somebody's issue, and feeling like I was creating a relationship with that individual person to be able to chat a way of how we can move forward together.
I'm very thrilled. As this meeting comes to an end, I'm just realizing, what I would have missed in terms of the content, covered, and the people that attended. and the kind of mixing and exchange of ideas. It was truly an important meeting.
I think for me, and also for AFSA, I think this is one of those unique workshops because it is driving towards action research.
So fantastic people, the atmosphere was very lively and good, and then very inside discussions also on the different issues. So I learned a lot for these 2 days, and then I hope that we'll keep in touch. And for us, I will also report back to my friends in West Africa because they know that I'm here participating to this workshop. I've been daily also writing to them saying what we have been discussing here, similar to what we did in Bamako. So trying also to connect with two groups in terms of exchanging experiences and different issues that we are working on. So I'm happy to be here, and then I hope that we'll keep in touch.
We are now in the process of developing a larger research action project that explores ongoing developments with regards to community rights over resources in Africa. We are co-designing it with participants involved in 2 workshops. We are hoping to identify ways to support the realisation of community rights over land, seeds and natural resources. We want to pay specific attention to women, the youth and other marginalised groups and their participation in how resources are governed.